Is Mondelēz getting ready to put up their dukes against Aldi? Yes, they are. And you may be wondering, what does Mondelēz have against Aldi? Well, a lot, actually. So Mondelēz is claiming that Aldi, for years, has basically been infringing on their copyrights by blatantly copying their packaging, like the Millville or like the Aldi brands.
Yeah.
Of popular products that Mondelēz has. Okay. So, yeah. So basically, they are demanding that Aldi change the packaging of several of its private label snacks, including Aldi's version of Oreos, Chips Ahoy, and 5 other of the Snack Giants brands. Okay. And this lawsuit was filed on May 27th in the U.S. District Court for Northern District of Illinois. And they're claiming that Aldi's packaging is likely to deceive and confuse customers, okay, who may associate a connection between Aldi and Mondelēz, basically thinking that, it's made by Mondelēz for Aldi. And Mondelēz is seeking damages as well as a permanent injunction to block Aldi from using this disputed packaging for its products. Okay. Now, this lawsuit against Aldi actually marks the second one filed by Mondelēz in the last month to protect its brands and maintain market share. So they've actually sued other companies besides Aldi. Okay. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Okay. Because this is already kind of interesting enough. But Mondelēz says that Aldi Snacks blatantly copies and trades upon the value, reputation, and goodwill that Mondelēz has built across its cookie and its cracker brands. Okay. And Mondelēz claims that they have reached out to Aldi about this multiple times, and Aldi just ignored it and left them no other choice but to sue them. Okay. And the alleged copyright infringement states that it would threaten to irreparably harm Mondelēz and its valuable brands, because we already know that all these companies really doubled down on the snack market, and then consumer kind of did like a U-turn and stopped buying snacks. So the fact that Mondelēz is saying that they're having irreparable harm because people are buying off-brand versus the name brand, I could kind of see that,
Yeah.
Now, in a 36-page complaint, they exhibited displays of Mondelēz packaging next to Aldi's packaging. Okay. And the brands that are included in this lawsuit are things like Oreos, Wheat Thins, Nutter Butter, Chips Ahoy, Nilla Wafers, Ritz Crackers, and Premium Saltine Crackers. And so in the case of the Oreos, Mondelēz said that Aldi uses product attributes similar to those found on an Oreo package. Yeah. And these include a prominent display of a tilted cookie with a blue background and a lighter blue halo around the cookie.
So I did pull up the packages. There's a picture actually that includes them side by side, and they're not dissimilar. Like, there are some similarities.
Now, when you keep in mind, Oreo is the top selling cookie in the world, okay? That just the Oreo brand has more than $4 billion in sales every year. We're talking about a lot of chump change there, okay? And Mondelēz is basically claiming that Aldi has established a pattern and a practice of selling products in packaging that are unacceptable copies, okay? That they purposely mimic the packaging so that way consumers will recognize, that's Aldi's version of Oreos. But then it kind of comes down to as well, most people, when they look at a chocolate cookie with filling in between them, they're going to go, that's an Oreo. They're not going to say, that's a great value brand sandwich cookie. They're not going to say that's a Millville chocolate and cream sandwich or whatever they call it. You know what I mean? They associate that cookie with Oreo.
So, yes. But I've kind of been looking at this a little bit in the background while we've been going over this. So, like, Mondelēz doesn't sell in the Aldi space.
Well, they can, because Aldi does sell some brand name items, but it's more like on a seasonal level. It's almost like overstock and, stuff like that.
Yes, but as far as like shelf space goes, they don't
Right.
permanent shelf
You
space.
wouldn't normally go to Aldi's to buy Oreo brand name cookies.
Right. You're going there to get Aldi's brand of whatever it is, and like the occasional like major brand.
So it's extremely rare that the two would be on the shelf next to each other, and that you're going to have to decide one versus the other. So that's a great point for this lawsuit, because can they even show where a consumer has a choice?
Yes, where the consumer has made a choice of side by side. I pulled up, just for kicks and giggles, I pulled up Kroger's version of their sandwich cookie, and the cookie placement is different. However, it's still on a blue background with a lighter blue inner circle with a sandwich cookie, and this one has a milk splash at the bottom. But instead of the cookie being up and vertical, it's two cookies down like this. So like,
is that different enough?
How is that different enough? Like, the name is blatantly not Oreo on that one, whereas like on the Aldi brand it says original, where Oreo has theirs that says original. So like, I could see.
But it kind of brings up, what exactly is copyright infringement? What do you have that's patented?
Right.
Because years and years ago, like the little black dress became like the super popular thing. And every major fashion designer came out with a form-fitting little black dress. And they all look the same.
Yeah.
They were all about the same length. They all were sleeveless. You know what I mean? Like it was like a basic slip dress. And they actually went and sued each other. Like all the fashion designers sued each other. And a court had to state that when it comes to basics, you can't patent it, that anybody can do it. That would be like saying that you're patenting the shape of underwear. You basically, I didn't mean to throw you off that bad. But, there's only so many different ways you can make underwear fit a human body.
Yeah.
Now that's not to say that there isn't multiple ways you can make a cookie, especially, two chocolate ones with some vanilla cream in the middle. But it's kind of like the lawsuit about Raisin Bran and whether you could call a product Raisin Bran when Raisin Bran was literally what it was. So, and a court determined that no, Raisin Bran, even though it was being used as a brand name, could not be its own special entity when it's literally describing the product. That would be like somebody patenting orange juice. So then no one else could sell orange juice. You know what I mean? Like, it literally describes what the product is. Now, this is kind of interesting. So a study by Shore Packaging in 2020 found that packaging was so important to 7 out of 10 individuals. So 70% of people say that they make decisions based on what the packaging looks like.
Yeah.
And then in another study, 72% of consumers, so about the same, said packaging design often influences their purchasing decision. And we've talked a lot about how wording on different packaging and different products is make or break, that depending on how a company markets their product as far as on the packaging can really make or break your sales and whether the public is going to trust buying your product. So by them having a somewhat similar, could it have caused confusion? Now, they did say that they have contacted Aldi multiple times, and in the past, they have actually had to discontinue some of their designs following these Mondelēz objections. And it said the food manufacturer, several offerings, while it's still copying the package, there was several others that they stopped copying the packaging for things like Teddy Grahams, Belvita, Tate's cookies, and Triscuits, which is funny that they didn't stop for Wheat Thins, but they stopped for Triscuits. So you know what I mean? Like it seems hit or miss. And I'm just going to guess that overall people tend to buy more Wheat Thins than Triscuits.
Maybe. I mean, Triscuits feel very specific. You know what I mean? Whereas a Wheat Thin is a little more just a thin wheat cracker. So like, you know what I mean? It might come down to the actual product.
I don't remember what the Aldi version of Triscuits was. Was it like, I'm sure it was like woven wheat. I don't think anybody actually put like what was it, the wicker furniture of wheat. You know what I mean? As far as describing a cracker, and I'm actually a huge Triscuit fan, so trust me, I've heard all the jokes about Triscuits. But it does kind of bring up, like, you know, all these snack companies are just really getting into it as far as throwing punches because their sales are down. But can you truly patent and copyright a product? For the longest time, you did not see, think of Uncrustables. We were talking about that during the last story. So for a long time, Uncrustables was the only frozen peanut butter and jelly sandwich without a crust.
Yeah.
Literally Uncrustables.
Yes.
And there was a few companies that tried to make a generic of it, like a store brand of it, and Uncrustables went after them. You know, similar shape, similar concept, whatever. And then all of a sudden, in the last year, there's actually been quite a few that have popped up now that have stuck around that were like store brand versions. And in fact, I just saw Lunchables has come out with, it's a very interesting thing. Instead of it being a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, they have come out with a peanut butter sandwich, and it's shaped like almost like a pizza slice where it's kind of triangle, and you dip it in jelly.
I don't like it.
But I'm just saying that, you know what I mean? Like, just because you're innovative in a food product, how long do you get to be the sole producer of that innovation? Because, I mean, honestly, Oreos is actually not the original.
Nope, it was Hydrox.
The original Hydrox, exactly, Hydrox cookies, which sounds like chemical cookies, to be honest, but they copycatted Hydrox, and they actually ended up driving them out of the market. Now, do I think that the Millville version or the Aldi version of Oreos is going to hurt Mondelēz so bad that they're never going to be able to sell Oreos? No.
And that's the thing, is like, it's not like Aldi's working to put their cookies in the main...
And you can only buy Aldi brand products at Aldi. Right. So every other major retailer, and like you mentioned, Kroger, their packaging, it's kind of similar as far as color, but the rest isn't. So is this just kind of grasping at straws, like, hey, our sales are down and we just need to get as much as we can? Because, you know, they're suing in order to have damages, so that way this Aldi and whatever other company is going to pay them.
Well, it creates precedent too. So like, if they win the lawsuit, even if it's not necessarily like a monetary award, like a big monetary award, that still creates a precedent.
So then what's going to stop one popsicle producer from suing the other popsicle producer because they have the same flavor or their packaging is similar, or, you know what I mean? So I think it could actually be a very dangerous precedent as far as if they actually pull this off and they win, how is this going to affect future brands, and not just in food either. I mean, think of like t-shirts and clothing and shoes, and you know what I mean? Like, it could really be a thing. So let us know down below, what do you think about Mondelēz going after Aldi for their store brand versions of popular Mondelēz brands? And do you think they can actually win this, or do you think Aldi should be in the clear? And do you ever expect to buy brand name items at Aldi? Because personally, I don't, so I'm curious if you do. So let us know down below.